item on the agenda, so you have as much
I gotta
time
keep
as
moving.
you need.
I guess if me finishing early doesn't necessarily
Doesn't help us
get your
at
evening
all.
finished, so we'll take our time and get through this appropriately. But thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's great to be here. We've been working with Newport News for a long time, and I thought tonight I'd give you just a quick bit of history and then about the relationship we've had. Got with me tonight Lauren Zervansky, who's one of our project managers. She's actually the program manager for this, so she's here to keep me straight. So when I go off script or say something wrong, she's supposed to keep me honest in front of you. So with that, we'll get right into it. So like I said, we've been around with you for some time. So in the 20s and 30s, when we were being formed, Newport News was one of the communities that really pushed to get HRSD established. And when you go back and read the history, it's interesting that Portsmouth and Norfolk weren't so cooperative at the time. But you know, I can't believe that the communities didn't get along real well in the 20s, 30s, and into the 40s. But Newport News was a strong proponent, and J.C. Morris, J. Clyde, was one of our commissioners in the 60s. And one of the interesting things is a delegate from Newport News, Lewis McMurnan, was huge. He really formed what we are today, because in 1960, our enabling legislation that was created in 1940 was basically rewritten by Delegate McMurnan at the time. And so we really owe our current existence and governance structure to the city of Newport News and that delegate. So that's pretty impressive from a history standpoint. We're also the host city to several of our facilities, and we really appreciate that. We've got, again, a long history with our Boat Harbor Treatment Plant, our James River Treatment Plant, and our North Shore Operations Center over off of G Avenue near the airport. Back in 1962, the city sold us 22 acres of what was then prison farmland to build our James River Treatment Plant. We'll come back to talk a little bit more about that. About 10% of our workforce, about 80 HRSD employees, choose Newport News as their home. And so we are well represented as a regional entity. We meet here, actually, we're the only regional agency that meets on both sides of the water. So our commission meets here 4 times a year at our G Avenue facility. So we really think it's important to be representative of the region as we go. So some of our more recent connections have been around the wet weather work. So those of you who've been around for a little while on council recognize that the federal government has been enforcing sanitary sewer overflows with this region since about 2007. And then we came back with a regional cooperative partnership in the 2013-14 timeframe, which saves the region about $1 billion. And Newport News was very much a part of that, signing on to that agreement. Saves you maybe tens of millions of dollars on wet weather overflows and makes HRSD responsible for making repairs even within Newport News' owned sewer assets to make that happen over the course of time. We've also done some microbial source tracking here, which is our, hey, how do we find where the microbe pollution's coming from? So unfortunately, Hilton Beach has been a challenge for you, and we've tried to help out quite a bit to try to narrow that down. It's getting better, we think. And we've worked quite a bit with staff to find other sources of microbial bacteria in other waters in Newport News, and we're finding that's a great partnership. And finally, the nutrient trading partnership, probably the latest partnership we've entered into with the city of Newport News, really relieves you of your stormwater requirements that are solely done to meet the Chesapeake Bay total maximum daily load. Doesn't mean you don't have a lot of stormwater requirements on your plate. It just means you don't have to do those because we've traded to take that burden off of you. And that's saving you tens of millions of dollars, along with the other localities we did that with, which were all permitted localities. So we're here today to really talk about our SWIFT initiative, which is the Sustainable Water for Initiative for Tomorrow. And this idea is we treat our water to exacting standards today, meeting all of our EPA permits, and then we spend a lot of money to get it in really good shape, and then we discharge it into, in the case of the Newport News plants, into the James River, where it's immediately taken to the bay and off out into the ocean with no downstream users. That water is pretty valuable at that point, and we continue to get more and more requirements put on that water. And so, and part of our brainstorming as an organization a few years back, we said, what if we took it all the way to drinking water as opposed to just matching the water quality of the James River? Then maybe the regulators can't require us to do something more if it's drinking water. And so we looked at that and said, yeah, that looks like it's possible. And then if we do that, what would we do with that clean drinking water? Because it's actually very valuable. You all have plenty of drinking water. You don't need more water in your pipes. None of the other parts of the Hampton Roads really do from a surface water standpoint. But the groundwater is actually a real challenge. So our connection here is treat the water, drinking water quality, put it back in the ground, and actually start restoring the aquifer, which we've overdrawn for a long time. You all were hit with that with the last round of permits, groundwater permits, where your permits were cut slightly. And the idea is, long-term, we want to restore the aquifer back to where we don't have to be cutting permits. You've got some industrial users in Newport News that depend on that groundwater, and you have Jefferson Labs and others that have groundwater permits as well. So the groundwater is a pretty important resource for the region and for Newport News. We've already done this successfully now for almost a year and a half. So over in northern Suffolk at our Nansemond treatment plant, just on the other side of the Monterey Merrimack, we've been making about 1 million gallons a day of drinking water quality water and recharging the aquifer with that. We've put about 200 million gallons into the ground already very successfully, and we're feeling really good about that. The work we're doing here informs the next step, which is really taking this to full scale. So this is a demonstration scale project, and hopefully some of you may or may not have been there, but we'd love to have you see the facility. It's set up as a public education facility as well.